Hey, what's up, everybody? And thank you for tuning in to the Water Bearer podcast. So, if this is your first time watching, thank you. Thanks for tuning in again. If you have been watching since day one, thank you as well. Again, welcome to the podcast. So glad to have you all here. And as I've mentioned, I've been saying in promos this season, this episode, we're talking about the ick of each zodiac sign this season. So, this is the first time that I've actually had a representative from each individual sign on their own episode for a season. So really excited about that. Also, feel free to join the Drip family. So sharing is caring, but subscribing is thriving. So make sure you subscribe to their YouTube channel if you don't mind, and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified anytime new episode drops or there's any new content. You can catch the Drip every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And also on the social media front, you can follow me on Instagram at Poetic, and it's P-E-A-U-X-E-T-I-C, and TikTok at P-E-A-U-X-E-T-I-C with the number 7 at the end. There's the only difference there. And then my guest for this evening, you can follow Byron on IG at doc_Silas, Silas, or you can follow him on Facebook at Byron Stinson. So that's BYRONSTINSON. You can follow him there. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. So this episode is about cancer. And a famous cancer, if you all don't know, is Sylvester Stallone. His birthday is July 6th. So I first met Byron about, oh man, I think it's been, and he can correct me when I bring him out, but it's I would say it's been at least 10 years. I would see him around at LA Fitness at the gym, and he was always he was the first person I believe that I really saw that was heavy into like the keto diet at the time. So I don't know if he still does that or not, but so I always thought he was just like a really cool person, and come to find out he's a cancer. So I was like, oh, okay, that's why, because usually I get along with cancers very well. So it's going to be interesting talking about cancer from an ick perspective today, because they are one of the signs, if not the sign that I click with the most. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Byron out to join us. Hey, what's up, Byron?
How you doing today, man?
I'm good. How about you?
Hey, can't complain. Woke up this morning, so better than most.
Man, yes, I'm with you on that. Already starting out as a blessing, right? Yes, yes. Okay. Well, if you don't mind just telling the viewers and the listeners, anything you want us to know about yourself before we get started, and your birthday.
Oh yeah, so my birthday's July 7th, so actually the day after Sylvester Stallone's, which pretty cool
Right.
fact. I didn't know that about him, so I
Oh,
feel pretty
nice.
good about
Okay.
that. Uh, Prior military, I think I actually met you when I was transitioning from active duty to reserve and
That's
completing my
right.
reserve time. I'm actually
Mhm.
in my last 6 months of that reserve contract, so I'm almost scotch free from being out the
Wow.
military,
Okay.
13 years, and I'm ready to
Nice.
move on to the next phase of my life.
Nice. Okay. Okay. That's what's up. All right. Okay. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it. So, cancer. All right. So, we talked a little bit about this before the camera started rolling. So, I'm really interested to get your perspective. So, if I had to say cancer's biggest ick, I feel like it's that cancer is one of those signs that is probably, I'll give it to y'all and say y'all are really the most intuitive of the zodiac, I feel, just as a whole. Of course, there are other people, not making a generalization, but I would say a lot of cancers are very intuitive. Um, the thing that I've heard with a lot of cancers is that they tend to let you know when they see something coming, almost to the point where it's like, oh no, don't do that because this is going to happen. Or after the fact, a lot of times I've heard a lot of cancers say, oh well, I knew that was coming, or blah blah blah. So it could make people maybe be a little skittish with cancers. But well, first it's a two-part question. So first of all, do you agree or disagree with that? And then if you disagree, is there any other ick about cancer that you feel is greater than that?
Well, for the first part of that question, I think you're, kind of spot on. I think that turns a lot of people off about us because we're very big. I told you so, people,
Oh, yeah.
because we're very big on
Yes.
letting people know, like, hey, like you said, after the fact, it's like, hey, man, dude, I told you I was going to happen. Well,
Right.
why are you upset now? Which is
Hmm.
kind of ironic because that turns people off of us because we tend to overspeak sometimes. Cancers I've seen, especially with me personally, we're really quick to give some advice when it wasn't asked. So we're very big on, because we can see it coming. So we're ready to just
Right.
let you know, hey, you should probably just do it this way, do this, this, and this. And sometimes that's not what people want to hear. So I can see
Hmm.
that kind of turns people off. So I would agree on that one. And the
Okay.
second part, I think, for the second part of that question, I think the kind of another bigger one that actually may turn people off even more is how much we wear our emotions on our sleeve.
Really?
So
Okay.
that is kind of a big, for some people, we're like overly flooded to them. Like it's trying to like drink from a
Too
fire
emotional.
hose. Yeah, it was like trying to drink from a fire hose. Like, it's too much coming out all at once. And it's like, we just met you, man. Like, I don't know
Right.
you from a hole in the wall, and you're telling us all this. So I've seen that
Right.
as our kind of a bigger ick that I've seen, especially
Really?
in my personal life. I get told that
Wow.
quite a bit when people
That's
find out I'm a
surprising.
cancer. Yep, when people find out I'm a cancer, they're like, explain your emotions. And I'm like, didn't know I was emotional. Got
Right. Okay, so you just said a lot there to unpack. So first, I want to go back to something you said earlier or a moment ago, just about cancers being kind of the "I told you so" sign and giving maybe unsolicited advice. So, do you feel like cancers, and maybe even just outside of cancer, you in general, do you feel like that you can receive advice well, just as easily as you can give advice?
No, not at all, actually. No, not gonna lie to you.
Wait, I
No,
wasn't prepared.
not gonna lie to you. Not at all. I don't want.
Really?
I could care less. It's ironic. I can. When that goes to that emotion that I was talking about, I care less about what you're telling me, because I take it as I feel like I should have known it was going to happen
Okay,
because
before.
I did.
Okay.
And then when it goes left, I'm very big in the shutdown mode. So that's a big one because I can give great advice.
Hmm.
Second, you tell me to use my own advice, nope.
Can't do it.
Nope, because I'm like, hey, I known it. I should have known it. I should have. So I beat myself up a lot. I know with a lot of cancers, they tend to beat themselves up, and I'm advocate on. I do that quite a bit.
Wow, that's interesting. So, okay, so with rejecting that advice, is it because of the way it's delivered, or even if it's delivered in a way that's respectful, you still may not take it?
I feel like I still may not take it. Now
Okay.
I may tolerate, and it may be a little bit more palatable from
Mm.
someone that I have that connection with. There's certain signs that and people that I know and that are other signs that if they even pierced their lips to try to give me advice, I've already shut down before they even started talking. It's like, okay, I can just look at you,
Really?
nod my head, go on, like, yeah, I'm listening. I'm not. Just based on certain signs. It's just by the relationships I have with those people, and I've noticed it in general.
Really?
Yeah,
So, okay, so now I got to ask you, okay, so what signs are those that
Leos,
you would? Oh,
Leo, and my brother's a Leo.
really? And
Yeah,
no advice from him?
none, and he is. I give him his praise. The man is smart beyond his day. I do not care.
Now, is he older or younger?
Older, he's my older brother.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
he, good male role model. Like you would want him to be a role model for black men in America. I don't care.
Still can't tell you anything.
Yeah, can't tell me
Now,
nothing.
you know, okay, so you bring up another interesting point too. I don't want to forget the other piece you said about emotions. So I'll get to that next. But I feel like I see that a lot with people who are adjacent to another sign that's right, because Leo and Cancer are kind of like right behind each other, just like on the front end you have Gemini before Cancer. um I can understand that because sometimes I'm like that with Capricorns and Pisces, and I'm kind of sandwiched between the two of them, so I can understand that to a degree.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think it has to do with the moons too, because like you were saying, that's a good point. So I feel like my cancers with Gemini moons that are in that last like June 20th, that time period at the end of the month,
Uh-huh.
I'm very well and open with. I can speak to them and it just flows.
Really?
And
Okay.
it's the easiest communication. But when you get to that, because he's a fresh Leo, so he's at the beginning of August. So he's right at that Cancer moon, to that
Oh, okay.
Leo actual sign. So he's
Hmm.
right there. Our birthdays and most of my family we're all Cancers. We only have a
Really?
few outliers. Yep, my mom is July 2nd. My dad is the 9th. My sister's the 14th. When I tell you it's like in the 6th, 7th, all that, we're right there.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So
So
this is
so
speaking from like looking at all of us across the board. Yeah,
mhm.
same
Wow.
thing.
That's interesting. So your brother's like kind of the odd one out being a Leo.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. So and for this episode, I really, really wanted a male for Cancer because I know, like you said, the emotional aspect. And I think a lot of times people try to generalize emotions and make it gender specific. And for me, how I feel about emotion, I don't think that it's necessarily crybaby, oh, I'm so sad, not that sort of thing. To me, when I hear of emotional, I just think of somebody who's really in tune with their emotions and probably someone who, if you're around them and they're feeling some type of way about anything, you're if you care about them, you're going to get drawn into that too. It's almost like, okay, I'm dragging you with me with my emotions, whatever I'm feeling. Um, so, do you think that cancers maybe get, I don't want to say a bad rep, but maybe a misconception, if you will, about being male and Cancer? Because I know you said cancers, you feel like they wear their emotions on their sleeve.
Yeah, so and like you said, I'm not so much saying like a bad rap, but it
Hmm.
is kind of that weird thing being male and being known as being emotional. So, a lot of times cancers will try to fight it. And I've seen it. All my, I got guy friends that are cancers. And I'm not emotional. That's a wrong sign. I don't wear it on my and it's like, dude, no, you're doing it now, actually. The way you're getting, you're doing it right now, actually. So no, I feel like that's kind of where we are. And like you said, it's not so much boohoo crybaby, but you'll see that I'm more prone to that emotional state. Now it is in certain areas because, like I said, from my standpoint, I feel like I can cry around certain people
Hmm.
that I have later
Makes
realized
sense.
that those people are also in a certain sign where I can
Okay.
feel that safeness because for us in cancers, our emotions I feel like is a lot deeper than what people think. Like you said, it's not just about the
Hmm.
crying; it's about the actual mental maturity of your emotions.
Yes.
It's
Hmm.
the whole aspect of your aura for us. It's how do you carry yourself? How do you know how to deal with your feelings? Because like you said, we tend to suck people in. People can tell when I am upset,
Hmm.
and which can cause an ick factor as well because a lot of people feel like you're putting that sadness on them, but it's really because it's feeding into them and we're pulling them. So a lot of people just throw their hands up, back up, like nope, don't want to. I can't be around
Right.
it.
They don't want to deal with it.
And that's where
Mm.
for us where we get a lot of our standoffish and our straightforwardness is because we're very much, well, if you don't understand me, we feel like you don't understand yourself, because with that, if you're pulling
Mhm.
back, that means that it's giving you emotions that now you're questioning.
Wow. Okay.
So
That's deep.
ours is
Okay.
coming from that emotional maturity is what
Right.
kind of where that is. And but like I said, I'm all for a good cry, I'm all for a good rom-com.
Hey, I love that. I mean, and I think that's so cool that as a guy and even as a black man, because I think that adds another layer to it too, as far as like showing emotions and things like that. Um, so would you consider yourself to be an empath? And the reason why I ask that is because I find that a lot of cancers, um, they're the type of people where, maybe they see a homeless person, or maybe, someone could be in a bad relationship or something. And it's almost like I feel like cancers kind of have to watch who they interact with and maybe even what they see, because I kind of view y'all as sponges almost, and you take on the weight of
Yep.
everything around you.
Yep, and that's one of my biggest things. It's funny you brought up the homeless stuff. Like one of the biggest things I'm working on now is actually an actual shelter for homeless. But it's
Really?
because
Wow.
because most of the homeless people are veterans, especially here
Mhm.
in the DFW area. That
Mhm.
wide vast majority of them are actually veterans that have served, and that's kind of like you said. We put the weight of the world on our shoulders, which also actually leads to a lot of sickness in my personal self because
Mhm.
I'm putting my emotions out there just as much
Mhm.
as I'm taking in everybody else's. And I
Oh.
hate and I try to take away pain from other people
Mhm.
by carrying it myself.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so
that's a
it
lot.
turns into, and so I've had to, as growing up and being more mature, I've had to pull away and separate
Mhm.
myself from a lot of that because I found myself getting bogged down, getting, just overwhelmed with just emotions that I didn't realize weren't even mine. I was holding on to other people's emotions around me.
Right. Wow. That's definitely interesting. And I wonder too, do you feel like your military training creates a bit of a duality? Because it's interesting for me, and I know we haven't like hung out or anything like that outside of the gym, but um, you seem to be very well, not only in tune with your emotions, but also able to keep them in check. Of course, very disciplined, and of course, with that comes along with the military. So, do you feel like um, maybe there's a duality of extremes there, being a Cancer, but then also you have the military background too, or do you think they kind of help each other?
So I think it makes it hard because you
Okay.
have to present and it goes back to your earlier statement about, kind of being a male and being a Cancer. It's having to, for us, it's like wearing a mask in the when you're out in the regular world with that emotion. So it makes it
Mm-hmm.
hard. The military training actually feel like made it even harder because it's like you're supposed to be this big, strong, military person.
Right.
You're better. You got to be strong all day long. It's what you're trained to be. When really on
Mm-hmm.
the inside, you just want to curl up in a ball and let these emotions out. So it makes it very hard because you end up fighting within yourself, which also
Mm.
creates an internal issue. And being that we're emotional, all that does is create even more turmoil
Oh,
because
right.
we're
Mm-hmm.
fighting with our own emotions.
Right. Okay. I can see that. I can see that. Okay. So touching on something that you mentioned earlier, I know that you said you wouldn't take advice from your Leo brother. But in terms of a zodiac sign and their biggest ick that you can't stand, what sign would that be? And what is their ick?
To me, Aries,
Mm,
and strictly
okay.
because they come across very boastful, very
Okay.
in your face, and
Hmm.
that there's just something about that just makes my radars go off. And any
Okay.
time that I've had issues or ran into friendships that have failed, or they've all kind of hovered around that same
Oh,
zodiac
really?
sign, same with the same zodiac signs that I feel comfortable with. Certain
Okay.
zodiac signs just have. So to me, it's Aries and just how they're boastful. Anytime it gets anywhere near their month for their birth, they're all on Facebook, all on Instagram, all on this birthday month, birthday week. It's dude, I don't, I don't care. But once again, I don't care, and it's
You.
that hard. Yeah, it's like I'll go ahead and unfriend you. Like I don't want to see all this, but it's just because I'm such a calm, laid back person.
Hmm.
Like most cancers have been. I'm to myself. I speak
Yeah.
to everybody. I try to get along with everybody. It's just
Hmm.
like you said. There's just something about it that I see that I pull back. You know,
Right.
and it's not. I don't want to know. I wish them all the best. Just can't eat at my
From over
table.
there. Right.
Just from over there. Just can't eat at my table. Hopefully, somebody lets you eat at theirs.
Right.
So their biggest ick to me is just their boastfulness because it comes across as that pretentious. And that's kind of a rough
Okay.
word because you don't want to generalize people. I've met great people that are Aries, but
Right.
just
Right.
as a whole, that's what I've seen.
Ah. Okay. Okay, and I can see how that would get on your nerves because I've never known you to be boastful.
Yeah. Nope.
I've never seen you act like, you're stuck on yourself or you're too good to speak to people. I remember you always spoke to everybody at the gym. So yeah, I can totally see how that would be an ick for you. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And so you mentioned, I know you mentioned several times, there are certain signs that you feel comfortable with opening up. So what would some of those signs be?
Back to the Gemini, just because one, I feel like we're so
Mm-hmm.
close that we're
Right.
there, but
Mm-hmm.
in general, Pisces.
Okay.
Yep. Pisces are probably the easiest, longest relationship I've ever been in with a Pisces.
Pisces. Really?
Yep. And it's because it's an ebb and flow. It's very
Hmm.
big on how we give off on each other. But now
I can
it's
see
also,
that.
that water just, it just, everything works. There's no resistance, there's no rough edges. Everything just was able to flow. So
Huh.
Pisces are hands down probably one of the easiest signs that I've ever gotten along with and had very
Uh,
successful relationships with.
okay. That's interesting because I always wonder how that works when you um, are with or you have, even outside of a romantic relationship, you have people of the same element, the same zodiac element. Because I've always wondered with Cancer and Pisces, is it too much emotion and feeling where it could be overwhelming? But it sounds like it's not.
So I actually think it's because we're the way we show our emotions
Hmm.
is a complete 180 from each other. So
Mm.
Pisces are more in that from what I've seen are more internally emotional, whereas I am more externally emotional.
Mm.
So they are able to
Okay.
draw, they are able to pull me in while I'm able to draw them out. I'm able to pick up like, hey, there's something wrong. Talk to me about it.
Right.
And then they're able to get me off that edge when I'm just gone too far and I'm out there and I don't want to do it. They've been able to pull me back in to direct me of how the emotions work together and how I should be able to talk and talking it out, writing it out. They've been able to help with that, but it's because we're two different emotional signs. So the way we handle our
Huh.
emotional stress kind of helps it. So being that I'm so externally like open about my emotions versus the Pisces that I've known have been internal, where you have to actually ask them and draw it out. Because if not, they'll take on the weight of the world and you'll never know it.
Yeah. Wow. You know what? You just helped me realize something because I think you are 100% spot on that. Because I always say a cancer's wrath is like no other. If a cancer feels like they've been
If you feel like you've done me
manipulated or
wrong,
hurt,
yep.
yeah, yeah. Oh man. I mean, it's yeah, you're gonna catch it. I mean, that's the only way I can explain. And that goes to the external piece that you mentioned. And I feel like with Pisces, they can really care. And maybe this is because they're right next to Aquarius. But they also, I feel like they can easily switch off their emotions, like to the point where it's like, damn, did I even matter to
Yeah.
you? Or like, did I?
Yep.
and
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 that's very spot on with
mhm,
is well, on both of our ends. It's the wrath of a cancer is really unmatched
I agree.
because because for us it's such a blow because we put so much of our emotions into our friendships. And
Mhm,
people don't understand that, especially about my friendships. I can meet you like we met in the gym,
mhm.
but I'm going to talk to you and treat you like I've known you for 20, 30 years
Yep. Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly. And you did.
because
Yeah.
I'm so emotionally invested in my friendships because I
Hmm.
care about the friendships. And
Right.
so, versus like the Pisces, they'll make it seem like you never even
Yeah.
it mattered to them. Versus, once again, it's that internal hurt because they may be hurting, but they're
Right.
never going to let you know. Versus me, I'm going to let you know. I don't
Right.
speak much, but when I do, you're going to hear me and
You're
feel
gonna
me.
know.
I can
Right,
promise you.
right. I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's wow. That's really interesting. I've never heard that broken down in that way with Pisces and Cancer. And it's funny. Um, your other, I guess, water sign counterpart, Scorpio, and people say, "Oh, be careful if you cross a Scorpio." And I know a few Scorpios who have fallen into that mold that maybe support that stereotype. But in my head, I'm always like, "Nah, it's Cancer. That's the one you need to watch. It's not
Well, it's
Scorpio."
because we're very so. Just because I feel the difference between us and Cancers and Scorpios is mainly because a Cancer, it may not be that day, may not be that month, may not be that year.
Yeah.
We're going to get that payback.
Mhm.
Versus a Scorpio, they're gonna do it. It's gonna be over with, and that's gone.
Yeah.
And
And they may even make up with you.
yep, I hold
Mhm.
grudges. I don't. I'm not going to let you back in my life. There's depending on what you've done, we're just done. There's
Right.
no because if I can't trust you with my safety, which is for me is
Mhm.
my emotions, if you'll break that trust once, you'll do it again.
Mm. Mhm. Wow. I love your transparency. That I think a lot of people wouldn't be honest enough to say one that they would hold grudges, or even two that um if they're not made to feel safe emotionally. Because I think that sometimes people don't even realize maybe that's why they're holding a grudge, or maybe that's why
Mhm.
they can't forgive or move on from certain situations. So I think that's really cool that you're able to even recognize that.
It was a long lesson to be learned about why I reacted the way I did. But once I figured out what it was, is that it
Mhm.
felt like that my safety net was taken away. That's when I was like, okay, so
That's why.
I'm laying into my safety net when I'm talking to people.
Okay. Got you. Got you. That makes sense. Okay. So if you had to name or kind of detail a scenario where you have your most memorable experience with another sign, and this could be on either end of the spectrum. It could be your best experience with another sign, or it could be your worst. Um, can you think of one, and what would that sign be?
Oh yeah, it's the same with the Pisces. Like I
Okay.
said, as you know, my mother of my son, she's a Pisces, and
Oh, nice. Okay, that's
it is
awesome.
hands
Okay.
down. We grew up as friends. It's one of
Mhm.
those, where those kind of rare stories where it was a friendship that blossomed into something bigger, and we got a lovely son after it,
Right.
out of it. And we're phenomenal parents, but it's just the way I was able to break down that rough exterior of that,
Mhm.
true Cancer crab. I had to break that and get into the actual soft emotional part.
Right.
And she's the one that brought that out, and she was a Pisces. So it's one of those that's kind of the best and the top pinnacle, because most other signs that I've been around, I felt like I had to be guarded, because
Okay.
as a male, you get very few times to be vulnerable with your partner, and
Mhm.
they don't use it against you later.
That's yeah. Oh man, you just said a word right there. That you're right. That's why people I think aren't vulnerable, because they're scared it's going to be used against them.
Yep. And that was
Mhm.
because I've done that, like I said, and once again, it was with uh is with the Aries, and that's kind of why I feel the way I feel, because once again, it's that grudge holding that you said.
Mhm.
Like, we hold that wholeheartedly. I hold that to the day. I'll never let it go. I'll never no. And I'm one of those few people that I'll ask your zodiac signs. Oh, what's your zodiac sign? Oh, I'm this. Never mind. You know what? It looked
Really,
good. Thank you. I'll pay for this drink, but that's it. We're done.
that's it. And
We're
you
done.
know what's funny? Even though I had you in mind for this episode, so I'm learning something new, because I didn't realize that you were that into zodiac signs back then.
So I wasn't actually. Once again,
Okay.
it took a Pisces to sit me down and break down what it was,
Okay.
because she just kept saying, "Oh, that explains it. Oh, that explains it." It's like, okay, well then explain it.
Right.
Don't tell
Like,
me it
what is
explains
it?
me.
Right.
What is it? Because I don't know this.
Right.
And so, just based on how I was raised, it was something that wasn't really looked upon, zodiac signs, and how that can affect you based on the moon and based on the seasons, based on the weather. None of that was actually taught to me growing up. These are the type of household I grew up in. I grew up in a very strict religious household. That wasn't a conversation we had.
Right.
It was, if it's not in this book, that's it. Then it doesn't make sense. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So looking at it from a different standpoint, it made it a lot, kind of changed that viewpoint.
Right.
And actually understanding and reading on that. So I kind of got into it probably over the last, I'll say about 5 years.
Okay.
It really helped me explain some past hurt and offenses that I felt. And that's like, that aha moment of like, that's why.
That's why. Yeah. We kind of have a similar trajectory then, because I knew of it on the surface level. And right before I started doing this podcast, was part of another podcast. And what led to it, I wasn't initially trying to do this. And one of our last episodes, we had some guests on, and it was myself, and the other two guests were a Capricorn and a Libra. In some kind of way, we got on disagreements in relationships. And I said, well, especially if it's a romantic relationship, I tend to withdraw a little bit. And at the time, I wasn't even putting that on being an Aquarius. I just thought it was a me thing. And, I'll address it on the surface, but I may not be able to go really deep into it right away, because my thing is, if I'm still mad, I don't want to say something I'll regret, or, so I just need my time. And they said, well, how much time do you need? And I said, well, it kind of depends on the offense. If it's something small, I might be good in an hour. I said, if it's something really huge, then, maybe it's 5 days. When I said 5 days, they were like, what are you, like, who's sitting around waiting for 5 days? And I'm like, I'm not mute. I'm still talking, but it may take me a little bit to process it. And so right after that, I was on TikTok a couple of days later, and this lady was saying how she was basically praising Aquarius men, but she said the one thing about them she doesn't like is she feels like they're too emotionally detached, or either kind of hard to read emotionally. And I've been told that several times. And so then that made me think, okay, and maybe there's something to this. And then that's how I kind of started studying and kind of getting into the zodiac signs more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please don't be emotionally detached with us, because that
does not work with a Cancer.
Nope. You better tell me how you are feeling. Do not make me guess.
Yes, I have learned the hard way. That is not good with a Cancer at all. Yes, for sure. Okay. So as we're wrapping up, before we get to the last segment, the dead in the water game, do you have any advice for people on how to? I know you've sprinkled it throughout the episode, but is there anything specific that you would tell people to act or to be in order to really reach a Cancer?
Be yourself.
Okay.
We're very big on just transparency. Like I said, what you get out of me is what it is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. I'm not gonna change it for you. We like to be accepted for who we are, but that's also how we want people to come to us. Just come with your true self. You may not think, you may think it may put us off, and it may actually be what draws us to you. My group of friends is a wide range. I could show you, and it's across the rainbow. They ain't not one of them the exact same, but I love them all the exact. Now, I may have to love them a little different based on personalities, because we are very big on that. We will approach you in the way you need. So I will be able to. So I will talk to. I know I can talk to you a certain way versus how I can talk to somebody else, and it's just based on that. But we're going to give you that emotional space. But just come as you are. Just be yourself. Because what we don't like, and I know for me, what turns me off is if we start a friendship on one field, and then you do a 180 and you're completely different once we actually establish that friendship.
Yeah, that's never cool. Yeah, I agree.
Like, I feel like as Cancers, we're very big on foundation, and we don't want to build anything on any type of instability. We want there to be a firm basis so we can grow from there, because we're going to defend you to the moon and back.
Yeah.
Also,
that's true.
Don't ever lie to a Cancer. You lie to a Cancer,
Yeah,
You
you
know,
lost them. Mhm.
you're done.
Or and you know what I've experienced too with cancers. Sometimes it doesn't matter what the truth is. It's more so what they believe to be the truth. So if a cancer believes you've lied, even though you've operated in truth,
You're done.
it's all
You're done.
it's equal.
Yeah.
It's just as equal as the lie
Yep.
to me. Would you agree?
Yeah. If I think you lied to me, it's almost you might as well have. You might as well
Right.
have.
Hmm.
It's because you're not. I'm gonna look at you different. I'm gonna move a little different
Hmm.
because I feel how do we're and I can say this, and some cancers are probably gonna watch this and get mad. Man, we're just hurt. We're just hurt puppies. We're a kick. We're a kicked puppy. You kicked us when you got a little angry, and now we're walking around you a little timid. Now we're not gonna full. We're gonna love you, but it's gonna be a little less. We're gonna wince a
Hmm.
little. Every time you come close, we're gonna wince a little bit. But
Right.
that's how we are. Yeah,
Well,
yeah. I'd rather you tell me something I don't want to hear and lie to me to make me feel better.
hmm hmm
Because even if you were doing it to make me feel better, I'm gonna hold it against you 10 times worse than if you'd have just told me the truth.
mm mm hmm
Because then you're telling me what I can handle, and us being literally the pinnacle of emotional signs. I feel like there's no sign that's more emotional than us. But just period.
Yeah.
Everybody gives that they think that this sign's more. No, you're never gonna be more emotional than a Cancer. It's not gonna happen.
Huh.
It's not
Okay.
happening. But because we're at that high, we feel like you're telling us what we can't emotionally handle. Yeah,
Mm.
and then you're questioning us, and that's how I take it. I take it like, oh, so you're telling me what I can and can't do. Now I'm offended.
Oh. And you know, man, I'm learning so much in this episode because um not lied, but I have definitely been guilty of maybe withholding the truth or portions of the truth for an appointed time because I'm really big on a time and place for everything, I guess you can say. So like I'm one of those people like I can't stand arguing in the morning. So I probably would be that person that would just be like, yeah, you're right, like just to get out of the argument if I
Don't
really
do that.
care about you. I know.
Don't
Because
do
I
that
feel like
because if you
it
come to me
just
later, we're gonna go at it.
see, and yeah, I've experienced that too. Yep.
Get it out there. Let's pour this coffee up. Let's go. Let's get it
Right,
out the way.
right,
I'd rather go to and it's pumpkin spice season, so I'm just gonna get me a pumpkin spice latte and I'm gonna be fine after it. But
right.
we got it out the day because I'm very big on, and it's probably this goes back. I'm very big on I can yell, I can cuss you, we can do
Mhm.
all that first thing in the morning. When I come home that evening, I'm gonna be loving on you, hugging on you, loving on you. And people hate that. They're like, "Bro, get off me." No, I didn't forget. It's like, oh, I did. Once I said
Yeah.
it, it's done. Once it's out there, it's done. I'm very big on it's done. It's out there.
You know what? Okay, so that you said something else that I totally agree with too. I do feel like as long as a cancer has not felt betrayed, um, in a typical just argument or disagreement type situation, as long as that part isn't a factor, I do think that cancers do get over things quickly.
Yeah,
Hmm.
like we can just as quick as that argument may have made us fit. Like I'm over it. And now I will say, in my more less self-aware days,
Hmm.
I did make a lot of mistakes of not understanding other people's emotions and what they needed. Like what you said when you
Okay.
said it may take a few days.
Hmm.
For me, I'm like we could have literally argued 2 minutes ago. I'm gonna walk into the next room and I'm gonna come back and talk to you like a normal conversation, and it's out of my head. But you may still need to mull it over.
Uh-huh. Right.
But
Right.
I'm done. And then I'm at that point where when I was young, I'd be like, "Oh man, get over it. You're still worried about that, dude. That
Right.
was 2 days ago." And all it's doing is making yours even matter, but it's based on how you're still
Right.
gonna react to it. For me, I'm like, all right, dude, come on. Here's a
Yeah.
straw, suck it up. Let's move on. Like,
Yeah. 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 I totally agree with that. That's yeah, that's true. I couldn't agree more. Wow. Okay. Man, this is I've learned some things just throughout this episode. So this is really cool. All right. Okay. So we're at the last segment of the podcast. So, the Dead in the Water game. Those watching or listening for the first time. The way this goes is I'll give Byron 5 this or that questions. And instead of telling me the one he likes the best, he'll tell me the one he likes the least or the one that he would toss back in the water. So I try to tailor these pretty close to either like things I see that you post or things that I maybe think apply to you. So I don't repeat these questions, or I try not to repeat them. So yeah, these are all, I would say, tailored to you. So the first one is, and I think I know which one you're going to pick: Hennessy or Maker's Mark.
Which one am I throwing back?
Right. Mm-hmm.
No, Hennessy.
Yeah, okay, that's what I figured. No. I saw you made a post about that, and I when I thought about it, I was like,
it's not real cognac.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's not.
It's a
like
bottom
cognac
shelf
juice.
It's a bottom shelf cognac, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that. It's a bottom shelf cognac that a few rappers made famous, and now they can sell it for higher. Remy's a better cognac than Hennessy. Now you have your outliers like pure white Hennessy, okay, but we're talking about Hennessy versus Maker. Gotta send Hennessy back every time.
Okay.
Gotta send it back every time.
All right, bye Hennessy. All right. So the next one is Superman or Batman. Which one are you getting rid of?
Throwing Superman away.
Really?
Trash.
I thought you were gonna say Batman.
No. Okay. Trash. Batman got them hands. Put them on him too.
Well, that's true. That is true. Yes.
He wore Superman out. Superman ain't no hero.
Yeah, he did. Right.
He got beat up by a billionaire. Man got baby soft hands, and he still lost.
That's true. He did. Right.
If you can see this wall over here, I got a Batman poster on my wall over here.
Oh, and it's funny because the way it's cut, I can't see it, but that's interesting. Okay. All right. So we keeping Batman. All right. And so between these two candies, Reese's or candy corn, which one you throwing away?
I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this too. Sending back Reese's. Boy, candy corn is #1 candy in the world. I wait for this time of year. I love candy corn. Hennessy got freaking Reese's got to go.
Wait, so you think candy corn is the best candy ever?
I don't think. I know. There's not a thinking in there. I know for a fact it's the best.
Really?
Okay.
So I didn't know you like candy corn that much. Now I like it too. Don't get me wrong.
I got people that send me pictures every time it hits the stores. They'll send me pictures like, guess what's back. I'm like, you don't think I already got a bag?
Right. I already know.
I got the release dates.
You know when the drop is coming. You're like, boom. Let me go to the store.
And let's be realistic. We know they've been using the same candy corn since the 80s, just repackaging it because other people don't eat it. But hey, I'm gonna be the first one buying it.
Hey, now I will say I'm not as much of a diehard candy corn fan as that, but I do enjoy it. I do like candy corn.
Oh, I eat them like Skittles. Shake them up a little bit, make them taste good, pop them in. Oh yeah, shake them a little bit. Make it better.
Right, but shake up the flavor. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. All right, so the next one is bench press or push-ups. Which one would you get rid of?
Oh, that's a good one.
I've seen you do a lot of both, so that's why I'm curious to see
that's
which
I'm
one.
like, oh, that one's I'm gonna answer this one just off of being vain. I'm gonna throw away push-ups only because I look better on a bench press machine. That's
fair. Okay.
That's just being vain. Cause when especially when you get a glimpse of yourself in the mirror with that weight up there and you see your arms and they're looking right on. Yeah, that's why I gotta throw away the push-ups.
Bench press.
So I'm gonna keep bench press. I'll throw push-ups back in the water.
Okay. Hey, all right. Push-ups gotta go. All right, and the last one, sneakers or boots? Which one are you getting rid of?
Sneakers.
Okay, that's what I figured because I
I'm
see
in
you
boots
wear
right now.
boots a lot. Oh, okay.
I'm in boots right now. Boots and belt buckles, man. I'm a true Texan.
Okay. Okay. That's what I figured. I
Everybody
figured
got
you were going to
sneaker
say sneakers.
collections. Everybody got sneakers collections. I got boot collection.
Man.
I got them in
Okay.
every color, leather, everything, anything, any type of boots you think of. I got them.
Man, that's what's up. Okay.
Sneakers got to go.
Gotta go. Okay. Hey. All right. Hey, I get it. Man, this has been great, Byron. Thank you so much for joining. And I think everybody will be just as informed as I was about a lot of the things that you said about Cancer and even the relation to the other zodiac signs. So yeah, this has been awesome.
Yes, all right. Thank you for having me. This was fun. I actually got to speak a little bit and give a
Hey,
viewpoint of a male Cancer. So we don't get to
right.
speak out much, but
True. That's why I wanted to give you that platform, right, to be able to do that.
yes, sir.
Yes, no, I appreciate it. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. As always, again, don't forget to subscribe. I will flash this up again for Byron's social information, and I'll read it out too. So IG DOC_SYILAS and Facebook Byron Stinson. You can follow him there. So until next week, peace, and thanks everybody for watching and listening. And thanks again, Byron.
Yes, sir. Peace and love. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.